Hey guys, welcome to Piano Rogues. I'm Aire.
And I'm Alair.
Today we are doing a challenge.
Poof! Ocarina appears.
Today we are doing an ocarina practice challenge.
This is our first ocarina practice challenge.
Because why not?
Because why not? And also because I have a new baby. This is our first episode with my new baby.
It is a triple chambered, purple clay ocarina from St. Louis Ocarina. You've been playing the ocarina for a while.
I've been playing the ocarina for about 13 years now.
So a little experience with it.
Yeah. The piece that we are doing today is the first in a suite by Fritz Kreisler. It was originally composed for violin and piano, but our twist is that I am performing them with ocarina and piano.
So that means you're going to have to make allowances for things that the violin can do that the ocarina does not.
This is going to be a huge learning process for me. So the one that we're doing today is the first one in the suite. This is LEIBESFREUD, which means love's joy. Without further ado, shall we get started?
Ready.
On my mark, get set, go! Oh boy. So I made it through like the first 8-ish measures maybe. So I play it again now and see how I do?
Sure.
Okay. Okay, so I guess now I do the 10 minutes. We see how I do from there.
On your mark. Get set. Go.
So I was practicing for 10 minutes this time. I decided that I was going to try to get past the A section. So I actually got, let's see, I guess I got through the B section, discovered that the A section comes back, and then I was working on the C section when the timer went off, and I discovered that the key changes right there. I worked some more on adding the harmony that I could add. Harmony is anytime you have more than one note played at a time. Ocarina is not the same as violin. I cannot play harmony as much as the violin can. In order to be somewhat consistent about my harmony being at the ends of certain phrases, I decided to leave out a harmony that I could have had as written and instead slightly alter a harmony that is written in the music in order to make it work on my ocarina. I can create harmony on this ocarina because it has 3 chambers, but the reason I'm limited is because there are certain notes that I can play one-handed in my lower chamber, and it only goes up so high, and then I have to switch over to my middle chamber to get to other notes. So these can only go so low and these can only go so high, and so if there is a note written in the music that calls for me to play a note that's too high for this chamber or too low for this chamber, and I have to do them at the same time, then it won't work. Yeah, I was calling them double stops because that's what it's called on the violin. I don't know what you call it when you're playing on a ocarina. Probably just harmony.
I don't think there are terms probably for the ocarinas, and there wouldn't be one for flute because flute only has one chamber.
Yeah, the flute can't play harmony.
You can call it whatever you want until someone tells us otherwise.
Okay, I guess I could mention about the grace notes. Grace notes are when you have to play really quick itty-bitty notes before the main note. The grace notes for this one are in between my lower chamber and middle chamber, so I have to switch chambers really, really quickly. That'll take a little bit of practicing. We'll see how that goes. I made it all the way to the C section in my 10-minute practice and discovered that there is a key change. We add a B flat, so that was a thing. For my hour-long practice, I'm gonna actually try to get all the way through the piece. We'll see how that goes. I'm going to try to refine my double stops a little bit more. I'm gonna practice trying to get more smoothly remembering where I'm supposed to have my mouth on 2 chambers instead of 1 chamber, and I'm going to work on my grace notes and see if I can make those go a little bigger and smoother any place that I'm supposed to have them. And I am going to try to get a little bit better at my slurred 8th notes and my grace notes.
And not faint.
Oh yeah, that too. Because apparently when I'm playing the ocarina, breathing is a thing. It is a requirement. I get so focused, I'm gonna get it right, I'm gonna get it right. And then I'm like, oh yeah, breathing. There it is. It didn't startle me though. Hour-long practice.
Woo!
Yay!
Good work.
Good set.
Oh. Ready, set, go!
How did your hour go? I think my hour went really well. I took a couple of small breaks. Like I just stopped playing for a minute or two to take a drink or just rest for a second. And I think that helped a bit. My hands are honestly kind of tired though. They're pretty sore. But I had a lot of fun spending an intense hour of practice on ocarina. I don't think I've ever actually worked that long on one particular piece on an ocarina before. I got all the way to the end of the piece. I'm not sure how well the whole piece went when I played through it a couple of times, but overall I'm pretty happy with the progress in 1 hour. I worked on smoothing some things out. I worked on rhythm. I worked on making it feel more like 3/4 when I played it. There are certain places where I just still get hung up on the fingerings because it's just a little awkward getting from one chamber to the next and moving my fingers in the correct patterns while I'm doing that. With a little further practice, that'll be fine. I'm looking forward to getting to the piano next episode.
How is it different to do this challenge for the ocarina versus the piano?
The physical fatigue is a little different. I think I experience less physical fatigue at the piano and more physical fatigue on the ocarina. It might be just partially a difference in what my body is used to because I'm more accustomed to long practice sessions at the piano than I am to playing the ocarina for a long time. Also, though, there is the issue with breathing. Playing the ocarina obviously affects how I breathe, and that might have something to do with it. Also, just the posture is different. I have to hold my ocarina up like this. There were some things that I had to consider playing this piece on an ocarina rather than on the violin that it is intended for. There are places where a violinist would probably choose to do a strong down bow to get a good strong accent. I can't really do that on an ocarina. For one thing, I don't use a bow. And also, blowing extra hard on the ocarina to a certain extent really just changes the pitch. So there were places where I chose to tongue a pitch, or in other words, tap my tongue against the roof of my mouth rather than just moving my fingers and creating a smooth connection between the notes, because I knew that that would create more of the emphasis that maybe we're going for on those notes. Also, there were places where it was supposed to be staccato and accented, but I can't really do that again on the ocarina. So rather than making it staccato, I chose to change the articulation there a little bit, make it tenuto to give it the extra stress, and then play staccato for the rest of the phrase. So just small minor changes like that to adjust for the fact that I'm playing an ocarina. Several trills throughout this piece. A trill is when you move quickly between two pitches. Many of them I can do just fine on my ocarina. There is one in particular that happens over and over again that I really cannot perform. I am going to demonstrate now why. The only way to do it is to move quickly back and forth between the two chambers.
It amuses me.
I'm sure it does. It doesn't sound very nice. We have to just skip over that trill.
You were using your flutter tongue for certain things. Would that be something you could do that?
Because it's supposed to be...
That's about as close as you can get on an ocarina.
Okay, guys. Apparently I'm going to be experimenting with flutter tonguing on that when I practice this for our final episode. So one of the challenges that I discovered in, I believe this is the C section. Yes, this is the C section. Is I have to get from a relatively high note to a relatively low note. And intonation between the higher note and the lower note requires pretty different breath control. That is going to take some practice to really get that down. And also just getting my fingers there in time is going to be tricky. Thankfully, Kreisler was nice enough to give me a quarter rest before that low B flat, so that helps a little.
You did it!
It didn't startle me this time. Ha! 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 I think we're ready for the final playthrough.
The last note kills me.
It's cute. Final thoughts. Having just played through this, practicing it for a whole hour, I do think I made progress. However, this
Oh
is
my God,
nowhere
can you
near
believe she didn't make it
performance ready.
perfect?
I guess that brings in the discussion, what is a reasonable expectation for an hour's worth of practicing? Progress was made. I learned some notes. I figured out which parts are hard and what's going to take more practice for me to get really good at when we're ready to do the performance. Things that I will do for my homework other than practicing it. I plan to listen to this piece. I want to hear a violinist play this. It'll be good to know what it was meant to sound like as a bouncing off point.
Reminder that this is the first time you've ever read through this piece.
That's true.
So she who expects to be perfect at playing it after 1 hour of practicing it, having never read it before.
Man, why can't I just play it perfectly the first time, okay?
I don't know.
That's all I ask of myself, just complete and utter perfection. It's not such a big thing to ask for, right?
I think you need to let yourself have the same expectations you would let your student.
No. One thing that I discovered is that it is a little bit harder to just keep going on an ocarina if you make a mistake. Mistakes feel a little more exposed on the ocarina than they do on the piano.
They're more noticeable.
Yeah.
Because there's only one note you're playing, you don't have a... Can't hide it amongst other notes.
Yeah, pretty much.
Fair naked piece.
If you enjoyed this timed practice challenge, you may enjoy one of our other challenges.
Click on the video in the end screen.
Thanks for letting us steal your screens for a while.
Stay rogue.